So guys, we are getting close to the 11th hour, which is the time that this webinar is due to start. What I'm going to do now is just open up my TickStrike window, and I am going to mute the volume of TickStrike. So hopefully, or maybe I'll just have it very lightly on in the background, just to alert me. I hope that's not too annoying. I just want it on in the background, just in case something happens, and we can talk about it as it happens and have a good discussion about it. So I'm going to go through a couple of slides, and then we can just spend our time talking to each other. I think just by given the questions that we've had so far, we're going to have some amazing conversations. And one of the things that I've struggled with, which has been absolutely insane, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, is we've just been overwhelmed on the support side of things. Literally overwhelmed. There's been a few days up until I think the last, I don't know, 6 or 7 days, where from the moment I've woken up till the moment I've been going to bed, myself and a couple of the other guys have just been answering support questions, about TickStrike, how to use it, people struggling with the download. There's been quite a bit of that as well, helping people get set up. But it's really cool to see how interested people are in the software. It's heartwarming that, there's a demand for what we're doing, and hopefully we'll get through this stuff. Because it just seems to be so popular, which is great to hear. So guys, I'm going to just quickly run through a couple of slides just to give you the overall concepts behind TickStrike, and feel free to ask questions as we go. And then we're going to start talking about how you guys use it and how I use it, how everyone else here uses it. And I think that should be the bulk of the holy moly. So if ever you're wondering, I wish I didn't start this webinar now because I should be trading this. This is a great move in the NQ. I don't know if you guys can see this chart on the left-hand side. If you're in the webinar and you can see what I'm sharing with you right now. If ever you wanted a demonstration of TickStrike, it's right there. It's happening live in front of you. This is not a canned webinar. This is real time. Okay, so let's get going, guys. All right, so the big concept, the big idea behind TickStrike is order flow. So what TickStrike does is convert order flow, which is the buying and selling that's taking place in the market, into sound. It's that simple. And what we've tried to do in places where we don't necessarily have order flow is replicate that information. So for example, with FX is kind of across multiple different brokerages and multiple different providers, and there's no centralized exchange for FX. So we've kind of aggregated information from multiple different brokers and kind of made our own version, and it's been incredibly successful. What we've also been trying to do with this new version, which I'm going to quickly throw up, this is incredibly experimental. It's new. So far, it's been working really well, is trying internals. So internal information like the tick, the TRIN, which give us advancing and declining information of the NYSE and the NASDAQ. That's been really, really interesting. I've actually found, I don't know how many of you guys experimented using the tick. I found it to be really interesting to kind of add that into the mix with my usage of TickStrike. But we've kind of come up with a new way to expose that same information for markets where we don't necessarily have easy to read information. So that's pretty cool. So the overall idea behind TickStrike is interpretation of order flow. It's about interpreting this information and giving it to you in a way that's easy to consume. So it's easy to consume because you hear the sound. It's easy to consume because you've got this visual indication of it, and really, really simplifying it. That's kind of the big idea behind TickStrike. And the background of that idea is the pit. So I kind of, Mark, it's being recorded. The background of the idea is from the pit. So many moons ago, there was a great service called Traders Audio I forget the guy's name. I met him a couple of times as well. He was a legend. Everyone really liked him. If any of you guys are old timers, I'm sure you've heard of the service. But it was basically someone in the S&P pit, and you could hear a bit of the pit action as it was happening, and hear the traders screaming and shouting, and that was a great indication of buying and selling taking place. Because if you're hearing a flurry of people saying buy, 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 and everything they do in the pit or hitting the bid, etc., in the pit, it gave you an indication that something was about to happen. Now, of course, more and more the markets have become digital. I don't even know if the pit runs anymore. It might do, but the last time I visited was 10 years ago, and it was dwindling at the time. But the idea with TickStrike is to convert that same concept of being able to hear people screaming, shouting in the pit, or that information, and provide it for the digital age using what we have available now. And what we have available now is the time and sales. Farid just said, CME closed all the pits due to, well, I think that's the end of the pits. They'll probably never be the same again. So the original concept is getting that pit noise style and converting it for a digital environment and making that work. Does that idea make sense, guys? So what we're doing is converting that old kind of methodology that people used of screaming and shouting and taking advantage of that, because there's some action that's about to take place, piggybacking off larger traders that were in the markets and you could see them in front of you. That's kind of the big idea that led to the initial creation of TickStrike, being able to see those flows. So give me some yeses if that makes sense so far. Awesome, brilliant, excellent, 100%. So that was the original concept. Because when TickStrike was initially created, it was, the first idea was, I was explaining with a friend of mine, and we were working on some volatility ideas. And then the financial crisis happened soon after. And then, oh my gosh, this was just absolutely amazing in that first financial crisis. It was a raw version of the product, but it was absolutely fantastic. And it just gave us the information that we needed to take advantage of what was happening in the market at the time. That's it. Wayne, definitely ask me that question again at the end, and we'll talk about it. Okay, so that's kind of the background, the idea behind it. So what's the point of TickStrike? Well, TickStrike is designed to be strategy agnostic. It doesn't matter how you trade. It's about implementing it into your system, so you could be a breakout trader, you could be someone that's looking for just a couple of points or a position. Ben Lichtenstein, that's the one. Sorry, I'm jumping around, but there's some great comments being made in the chat. Ben Lichtenstein was the guy behind Brook Traders. So absolutely amazing, really nice guy. I met him a couple of times. We've had dinner together as well. Really, really cool guy. I hope he's still around doing something in the markets, but really, really nice guy. Yeah, great guy. Great guy. If he's with TD, I'll give him a shout and see how he's doing. Yeah, so going back to the presentation. So the idea behind TickStrike is to be strategy agnostic. So no matter how you trade, whatever you're looking for, if you're a pairs trader, if you're an FX trader and you're looking for 4-hour breakouts or anything, whatever it might be, whatever method you can explain. I mean, you guys can type into the text chat what you do. There's probably a million market profile traders in here, order flow traders. There's a bunch of ways that people trade and use the information that we all get. But TickStrike is designed to be completely strategy agnostic. You can use it for correlation methodologies. You can use it with a single kind of window up and just look for confirmation of a trade that you're taking on the euro. You can use it in 1,000 different ways. But the big idea behind it, and one of the big ways that people seem to use it, is volatility discovery. They just want to know when something is happening. That's it. That's kind of the most simple use of TickStrike I've ever seen. So they're not using it for trade entry. They're not using it for anything other than they're doing something. They might be at work. They might be focusing on other charts. But when something happens and they hear a sound, they'll pay attention to the chart. That's the simplest way I've seen anyone use TickStrike. And I've heard it quite a few times. to, discover volatility. It's a simple way to do that. So that's one use case. I don't know how many people use TickStrike to discover volatility. Give me some yeses. Yep. Absolutely. So a bunch of people use it in that it's an incredibly simple way of using it. I mean, Wayne just mentioned that he's a mean reversion trader. It's great for turning points. It's great for a lot of things because it's telling you in an incredibly simple way what's happening. It's giving you a simplified, objective interpretation of what's taking place. Because I don't know how many of you guys have actually spent some time reading Orderflow and looking at the bid and ask and watching orders come in. I don't know about you guys. I find it really difficult. It's difficult to pay attention to because you have to have this deep level of concentration and, pay attention to the bid and the ask and all of this kind of thing. And what TickStrike does, hopefully for everyone, is simplify that information. So volatility discovery, one of the key ways to use TickStrike. There's a bunch of other ways, correlation, momentum. There you go. So a couple of people, I'm just going to quickly jump on this, but the financial username and password don't work. I'm missing something. I tell you what we're missing, because what you're missing here is my poor management of this setup. So we actually had in the software, enter your username when you should have been entering your email for Financial Juice. And that's a screw up by me. I tend to do things on the fly. It's great for developing new products. It's great for coming up with great ideas, which I think is one of my main skill sets. But hey, that whole making sure things are kind of, the admin stuff taken care of, that's not my strongest suit. So that's probably what it is. We're gonna, today when we have the sign up process, it's going to completely remove all of that. So the Financial Juice logins will not work anymore. It's going to be completely new setup. It's the free setup will completely go, and anyone that signs up, you'll get your email and password sent over to you. But when the presentations end, we'll keep talking about this, and we'll go through it. I tend to do things on the fly. It's what's made me successful. It's also problematic as well. So we'll work on this, guys. And I appreciate you guys not sending me a horse's head or anything of that nature. Thanks. Yeah, Mark, everyone. So we're basically resetting TickStrike. It's a chance to start all over again. So there's a bunch of ways to use TickStrike: correlation, momentum, breakouts, confirmation, capitulation, trade management, divergence, news trading, all of that kind of stuff. Tim, you're making me laugh. But what's interesting is that a lot of these ways are actually contradictory to each other, right? So for example, capitulation is when you see this entire thing screaming red, but momentum breakouts and momentum breakouts are exactly the same thing. What's the difference between the two is time. The more time that passes and you still see this thing screaming and screaming and screaming, it's likely that there's a lot of stops being taken out and you're going to see a capitulation, right? Whereas if the move is just beginning, you're seeing momentum. It's a simple idea, but you can use TickStrike in contradictory ways, if you watch the markets enough. So someone's asking, does TickStrike work on the Mac as well? No, it doesn't quite yet. There are a lot of people that ask for this. Personally, I'm deeply offended that anyone trades on a Mac. I'm kidding. For a long while, no one traded using a Mac, and now suddenly everyone is. So we will definitely get that worked out. So got a couple of small videos. We're going to go through. This is a breakout. I mean, we're watching breakouts happening on the ES right now. On the NQ right now on the chart to my left. But this quick video just to give you a basic demonstration. Oh, Wayne, absolutely. See if this thing works. So here we go. We've got a breakout here on the crude. Guys, the one thing I haven't done really well is get you lots of examples. And the reason for that is I run a couple of businesses and trade. And I just struggle for time to make this kind of stuff happen. But I'm going to try my very best. And hopefully conversationally, we can go through a lot of this stuff as well. But what we're seeing here is crude. We're kind of knocking on support at the moment. We had a first little test of it. We're seeing -11s kicking in, and then we've had this breakout. Did anyone catch that trade this morning at 6 a.m.? I think it was around 6 a.m. Obviously, I run a financial news company, so I have the guys, sending me alerts whenever something crazy happens. But there was an absolutely awesome trade for crude at 6 Eastern, around 6. Hey, Christian, you straight in there. If you guys caught that, let me know. Let me know how you traded it. That'd be great to hear as well. But here's a quick example of a breakout. You've seen the market to the lows. You've seen this thing go absolutely nuts, and the momentum is continuing to the downside. So just a quick, simple way to use TickStrike right there. Yes, exactly. Just like NQ is doing right now. It's going absolutely nuts. So this is the next slide is correlation, which is perfectly timed for what you're seeing right now. So we're seeing this breakout. Hopefully I'm not moving away from my mic too much. We're seeing this breakout take place. Continue to the downside. But whenever there's a strong move, we're seeing a bunch of correlation. We're seeing a bunch of strength behind it. And we're seeing all of this lights up. And correlation is probably, in my opinion, the most powerful way of using TickStrike, because if you've got multiple markets that are both positively and negatively correlated with the market you're trading or the markets you're trading, and you see all of them moving together, it's momentum, it's strength, Absolutely. So there's a couple of questions that I'm going to try and answer. Glenn is asking, will TickStrike work on NVIDIA, mRNA, Netflix, etc.? It will, absolutely. Absolutely. So one of the things we've done is analyze the instruments that people use and basically make those available. So we've got a bunch of stocks already set up. So there's NVIDIA there and a few others. But with the stocks, we're going to initially add them on demand. So if anything you want here is missing, just let me know and we'll add them. And then once we've kind of really got some hardcore testing on the stock side of things, we're going to probably add a heck of a lot more. But, we'll make it happen. And Fari's coming with his list. No worries, Fari. We'll get those added pretty soon as well by the end of this week. So if there's any stocks you want, any instruments you want, just let me know and we'll add them. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. I thought we added UB. Let me check on that. It's not there. I'm pretty sure the research for that has been done. So I will check on that and we'll try and add it, Wayne. I don't want to be a Lenny letdown and not have that up there. But, if there's any instruments that you guys want, I mean, it's an email away. All I want to see is demand for an instrument because it's quite intensive, the infrastructure that we have to create. So we want to make sure we give people what they're after, what they're looking for, and to make it happen. Okay, UB will be a great thing to add. Okay, no worries. We'll definitely add that. Eric, the numbers are intensifying on the TickStrike measurement. However, TickStrike measures, is it relative scale? Yes. So this is one of the things that's a little bit confusing about TickStrike. So one of the questions that I keep getting asked is, so when I see level XYZ or XYZ, level 6, for example, what does that mean? Does that mean that there's like this size contract that's traded or whatever? We dabbled with those types of ideas. I found that it didn't work. Just kind of making it a raw score. I found that it wasn't useful to traders. So what we've created is an algorithm that is basically adaptive. So you will sometimes hear this thing screaming at nighttime in the after hours Globex session when not a huge amount is happening. And that's happening because it's relative. The numbers that you're seeing are relative to the market action and the order flow that's taking place at that time. So it's adaptive. We found making TickStrike more adaptive has made it more successful and a more useful tool. I don't know if you guys agree with me. I have the data to back that up, but I mean, in terms of logic, hopefully that makes sense to you. Oh, now we're seeing screaming correlation to the upside. That's kind of the core idea behind it. So if you get spooked by seeing crazy numbers in the middle of the night, it's purely because it's a relative indication. If we limited it to, I don't know, a certain number of contracts, TickStrike would become absolutely useless if you're trading Globex. It would become absolutely useless if the market is quiet and there's not a lot going on. And we found through trial and error and lots of testing, that making it relative is probably the best way to do it. Eric, that's a very, very, very good question. Yes. So we have a few ideas that are in the works. We'll kind of save the discussion around those in the Q&A. But I'll give you a quick summary and you can ask me this question again. So one of the ideas is demonstrating a history of TickStrike on a chart. That's something we definitely are working on, and it's part of the gig. The second idea is having a correlations matrix. So you can see in real time what's correlated with what. And the last thing is something we're working on for relative strength. If you're trading currencies, it's really awesome to be able to see which is the strongest and which is the weakest currency at any point in time. And we're going to try and apply that logic to stocks as well. So you can, look at a particular sector and see the strongest and weakest stock in that sector. There's a bunch of ways that we can apply this, and then you can use that information in your correlations. It's a cool interpretation of the tool. I mean, the kind of stuff we're gonna briefly discuss today, I could have 10 different webinars on each one of those. So I'm going to try and skim over lots of different ideas just to give you the scope of what TickStrike can do. And then we're going to break down and have like a focus webinar on correlations, a focus webinar on how to use TickStrike for breakouts, and a few things like this. So, we're in the Q&A already, aren't we? Mark's just asked, are we going to add more sounds? So we've added a few sets of sounds. We're going to explore adding more. If anyone has sounds they prefer, send them to me. I'm happy to explore. It's really difficult to find the right type of sounds for a service like this, because you want the sound to be easy to interpret, but you don't want it to be annoying, because you're going to be hearing it over and over again. Wayne just said the wife. Okay. So it's oh yeah, Michael, I mean, I don't use any other sound other than the Geiger sound that we already have. So I said, I mean, Jordan, that's not a crazy idea. It's possible. It's possible. It's just, it's just working out the best way of doing that. So I guess, if we give people the option, that's their choice. It becomes their problem. But personally, I mean, when we initially recreated this tool, what I wanted to do was strip out all of the sounds except for the Geiger, except for the one sound. But that's my personal preference. The amount of emails and messages I got from you guys and the conversations I had, I got the impression very, very quickly that there's quite a few people that want different sounds. Personally, I find it annoying, but it's whatever works for you guys. Hey, Eric asked a good question. Would it be easy to have a sound generator? I have no idea how to build something like that. Yeah. Okay. Cool beans, guys. Yeah, and Eric, there's a bunch of ways to use this thing. So it's really what works for you. I mean, we can try and put this stuff together. So yeah, momentum, we've kind of already briefly discussed that. Confirmation. So one of the big ideas, one of the big ways that many people, and give me some yeses if you're in this, if you agree with this, you've entered a trade to the long side. And, for example, if we've done that right now and we've got some green on TickStrike, we're looking for this to continue. Now, as soon as we hear some red coming in, perfectly timed, with the tick Q there showing, okay, then there might potentially be a break in this correlation or this move, but we're not completely sure yet. It kind of helps you let the winners run and cut the losers short. Because if you see a continuation of of momentum on the long side, you hold on to that trade. It makes that information simple and objective. Now, if you're on the long side and you hear some selling coming in, like we're starting to see right now on the NQ here, like this would make me nervous. I would look to exit my trade at break even or whatever. Yep, exactly. There you go. So this might continue to the upside. It might start a sell-off. I don't know if you can see the chart here on the left, but that's a great example of using TickStrike. If my trade does not confirm itself quickly, I exit. That's kind of how I personally use it. Okay, so capitulation we've kind of already talked about. Trade management we've have. Divergence. Now, this is probably a more advanced usage of TickStrike, and we'll kind of go through it. Victor asked a quick question. At weekends, TickStrike seems to be completely silent. There's no markets trading other than the crypto markets. So that's why it's silent. But crypto runs 24/7, and that's why all the 20-somethings trading it have aged like 20 years in this last boom. Yeah, Eric, definitely. We're going to have some type of charting mechanism for sure. That's 100%. So one of the more advanced ways and guys, look, if you look at the NQ chart right now, if you were scalping or trading this move, this is a perfect use of TickStrike for trade confirmation. So I was kind of looking for a long, just off the cuff, and I saw some selling coming in, and I exited. It's kind of an interesting usage of it. So divergence. Now, divergence is probably one of the more advanced uses of TickStrike. And I've got a little video of it. Some of you may have seen this video, but I'm going to share it. So basically what we're seeing, I'm going to turn the volume of the other TickStrike off. So what you're seeing here is price. Hopefully the sound is coming through as well. Price starting to make higher highs. I'm trading the NASDAQ here, but we're seeing Microsoft and Facebook start selling. Now, Microsoft, the FANG stocks are basically around 40% or so of the weighting of the NASDAQ 100. So they have a massive impact. So price is making, highs here, and we're seeing nothing on these guys. I mean, we're seeing some selling kick in. And this is a great use, especially if you're trading the indexes and you've got stocks that are heavily weighted, to trade the divergence, to trade against the action that's taking place and look for a reversal. Absolutely. So that's kind of what you're seeing here. So we had a test of the highs, and none of the underlying confirmed that high. In fact, they started a sell-off. So there we go. I'll let that continue in the background. So there's a million questions coming in. TickStrike has no relation to your charts, completely separate software. Yeah, absolutely. So TickStrike is just basically interpreting a bunch of different information at the same time. And what you see in your charts is what you see in your charts, and what you're seeing on TickStrike is the Orderflow filtered version of that. Far is asking the VIX. Are we seeing the VIX or the VIX or the VX futures? I think it's the VIX itself, VIX. It has no underlying order flow or anything of that nature, but we've kind of created it's the internals. Everything that you see in the internal section is, oh God, I've lost it now. Everything you see in the internal section is something we're testing at the moment. So it's all new, and we're putting that stuff together. Yep, we'll re-add VX. Definitely, we'll make that happen. So it's all new. We'll give that a whirl. Alvaro's like, is there a replay mode? No, we don't have a replay mode at the moment. That's a really relatively difficult thing to do. So we'll try and put that together in the future. But it's one of those things. It's quite difficult to do. Yeah, Farid, to replay the TickStrike, but I just don't know how useful that is. It's one of those things. It's a pretty difficult one to kind of put together. Okay, so another great way of using TickStrike is obviously news trading. I mean, this is a tool for discovering volatility. So if you're looking for volatility, a news event is a great way of trading it. One of the most obvious ways that people seem to use it is after spike trading. So when an event has just happened, you see this big move up, which is quite difficult to enter, and the risk of slippage is quite high and all these types of things. But just after that move takes place, in this kind of area and around here, the volatility is still high and there's a lot of opportunity to profit. Does anyone here use TickStrike other than myself for news trading? Give me some yeses if that's something you do or have explored at all. Brilliant. Yeah, a bunch of you guys. Very cool. Very cool. All right, guys. Now, I think the best thing we can do right now is just basically spend as much time as possible answering all of your questions. So there's a bunch of questions that I've already missed. But what we'll do is if you've got questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat. And I will try and go through them and, we can talk about live examples and everything else. So that'd be cool. But here's the one thing that everyone has been waiting for is how much is this thing going to cost with the new release and what are we doing? So I'm going to put that information together for you now, and we'll basically continue for as long as you guys want, answering all of your questions and going through questions that I've already missed. So please feel free to type your questions into the text chat. But just a quick summary, this is not the pricing. Don't freak out. But the old version of TickStrike that we had, the pricing was $39 a month for a single instrument, $125 a month for any 10, and $199 for everything. Everything that was part of it. And it was a cool way of putting this information out. We thought it was inexpensive. We also had a couple of offers if you purchase 6 month, to put that information together as well. But we've decided to make some changes. So I've completely got rid of the single, and I've completely got rid of the any 10 markets. And we're only focusing now on everything. And the reason why I've chosen to do that is because the product itself has its greatest value when you're using it for correlations, when you're using it for momentum and checking across different markets, because every market is correlated to something. That offers the greatest amount of value. That offers the greatest power with using TickStrike. All of that stuff's going to be gone. This price is going to be gone too. When we launch the price to the public and to everyone else, if this slide actually works. Oh gosh, how do I get rid of this? Okay, so when we launch it will be $99 a month for everything. So it's basically half price, half our original price. But of course, that's not the price for you guys. That is a fair price. That's a great price. But that's not the price for you guys. You guys are going to be part of the process of us re-releasing it, just like we did with Financial Juice, where we're going to reward the people that are with us from the start. Of course, we want to reward the people that have been using the old version of TickStrike for a long time with a great deal as well. But with the community and the help of you guys, I get to make this product better. And it's gonna be interesting. So let me start breaking this down. So with the old pricing, clear all these drawings. With the old pricing, 12 months would cost you at $199 would cost you $2,388 a year. If you went for the new pricing, it's $99. Times 12, which is 1,188, which is 50% cheaper than it was before, which is great. But of course, you guys are special, and we like to look after you. You're here at the very beginning of the relaunch. Where we're making this happen. Wayne, you got a deal. We're starting to make this happen again, and we're going to give you an amazing deal. So we've got two primary offers for you. So the first one is for $497 or $497 a year for TickStrike, and you get everything. So for $497 a year, you get everything, and that's way cheaper than before. That's 80% off the typical pricing that we had before. It's the product is way better. It's way faster. We're going to be expanding the range of it, expanding the scope of it, and adding a heck of a lot more. So that's the $497 for a year. But we can do better than that. And a lot of you guys have asked for this. And we're going to try and make this happen. So if we look at the old pricing, if you had the product for 5 years, you're looking at around $11,940 at the old pricing. At the new pricing, it's more affordable, about $6,000 for it. But for everyone that's here today, on a limited release, we're giving it to you for $997, and you're saving 92%. And if you go to tickstrike.com/special, you can sign up there and set everything up for yourself. The password and username, etc., will be sent through to you by email. But it's a one-time payment of $997 for life. That's it. It's a one-time payment. You never ever pay again. And that's it. Mark saying, "Heck yeah!" Wayne's saying it is a steal. But you guys have been with me on the journey.